Welcome to Effective Test Readiness, with an emphasis on knowing the strategies. In the next few minutes, we're going to dig into teaching test readiness, specifically the importance of knowing the strategies that will maximize performance on a given test. These strategies are at the heart of Kaplan's reputation as the national leader in test preparation. Kaplan has decades of experience in test readiness, and these have yielded the same conclusions as contemporary education researchers, that three things are critical drivers of student success on tests. Students need to know the content, they need to know the test, and they need to know the test-taking strategies required by a given test. No one of these three things stands alone. All are critical for students to maximize their potential on standardized tests. In this session, we'll be looking at the final critical element of test success, effective use of strategies. Some strategies work for every test. For example, students should know how to eliminate wrong multiple choice answers no matter what exam they're faced with. But if we are teaching students to really know the test, then we ourselves know that no two tests are exactly alike. Some tests are hours long, while others happen over a span of days. Some tests are primarily multiple choice, while others are driven more by essays and short response questions. Some are timed and some are open-ended. Why do we think that the same strategy should apply to every test? Perhaps we can agree that all students should know how to eliminate wrong answers, but it would be foolish to emphasize vocabulary, editing skills, written explanations of mathematical reasoning, and the like if they weren't prevalent on the very test your students are about to take. Strategy instruction needs to be informed by the test itself, its content, format, and implicit priorities. Of course, as a teacher, you can't be expected to do the sort of test analysis that is required to create an optimal path of strategy instruction. This is the role of the test readiness curriculum, to know the test backward and forward, and to apply that expertise to create a path of strategy instruction that will maximize every opportunity for optimal test performance. This is certainly Kaplan's approach, to match the most effective strategies to the specific content and structure of the test. Plus, let's face it, plenty of students still struggle with knowing how and when to eliminate. So a curriculum needs to balance the right strategies with solid instruction on those strategies. Introducing students to strategies and modeling them once is not enough. Students need extensive, scaffolded experience over time with each test-taking strategy in order to be able to adaptively and efficiently apply it at the appropriate time. Remarkably, many test readiness curricula still just recycle the same old techniques for every test. And while it's true that eliminating wrong answers is absolutely the most effective strategy that applies in every multiple choice situation, it's not the only technique available to students. Take this technique, for example. With this strategy, students learn how to draw boxes around words that will help them to identify the type of passage they are reading. Once students recognize the kind of passage they're dealing with, they can better recognize the question types commonly associated with that kind of passage. Then, after the test is long over, students will have retained the critical thinking skill of reading and analyzing a text in order to identify its structure and make meaning from it. Here's another great example of a strategy that's invaluable in a specific context. Students are likely to be asked geometric questions on a test, but are not going to have protractors to support them. What do? Tear off a corner of scrap paper to make a movable right angle, and fold it in half to make a 45-degree angle. They can use the same technique to approximate distances. This strategy will help students to answer with greater accuracy on the test, and because it's supporting students' critical thinking skills, it will also help them long after the test. We've all probably used this technique to help us estimate distances on a map, for example. The best test readiness curriculum gives students strategies that support their response to specific types of test questions and their critical thinking skills. The curriculum teaches students not only how to use the strategies, but also when to use them. The strategies you see here are among the most commonly used on every test, but without that key knowledge of when to use them, the strategy knowledge gives no added value to students. As we've said, students need to know the content, they need to know the test, and they need to know the test-taking strategies required by a given test. This pyramid is a summary of the Kaplan method, but it's also a summary of best practices in test readiness learning. Thanks for joining us, and good luck getting your students ready for their next big test.